Welcome to the Longevity Man podcast, where we delve into the minds of extraordinary men who have embraced self-care and longevity. My name is David Ito, a holistic life and wellness coach. We discuss all things longevity specifically for men, from healthy lifestyle choices to expert advice and inspiring real-life stories that will help you take action towards a healthier and longer life. All right, so welcome everyone. We have LeStryet Yow today, and he is an amazing person. I've met him through our Facebook group, and he has a beautiful life story and a beautiful yoga practice that many of you might have seen through his posts. So today we're going to be talking to him, and he's going to be telling us about hot yoga. It's actually called Hot Yoga 26-2. But before we go deeply into that hot yoga, let's find out who he is. So, hi, LeStryet. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, David. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Great.
Thank you. Glad to be here with you.
Yeah.
Yes. My name is LeStryet Yow, and I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, really Hoover, Alabama, which is a suburb of Birmingham. And I'm 74 years old. I'm a graduate of the University of Alabama, Roll Tide, and I worked 30 years at AT&T, where I did sales, product management, statistical analysis, and I retired in 2002. So I've been retired for 22 years.
How did you get into yoga? How did you start and when?
An injury caused me to get into yoga. I was an avid runner, a casual jogger, and I would run in 10Ks sometimes, but most of the time it was just jogging at noontime when I worked, and also after I retired. But I guess in about 2013, I was jogging, and all of a sudden my left knee started to hurt, and I kind of jolted a little bit. So I had it checked out, and I was having some knee problems, and they went in and did some cleaning up around that knee capsule. And the doctor told me, well, son, you got to find something else to do, either swimming or just walking. So I started walking, and my daughter was taking yoga, and she invited me to a yoga class. And so I said, okay, well, I'll try it. I've never done yoga before, not specifically. So I went to a yoga class with her, and that was the beginning of it. And that was like in 2014 when I started.
Can you tell us the difference between Bikram yoga and hot yoga 26-2?
It's just the name. The poses are the same. It was just that the name changed in 2015, 2016, and the Bikram part was dropped off, and it just became hot yoga 26-2. The same 26 poses, the same two breathing exercises.
Gotcha.
And it's a hatha yoga type style, so it's done in a warm room as opposed to a cold room.
All right.
And it differs from vinyasa in that it is a set sequence. Each pose prepares you for the next pose. And because you do the poses twice, you get a chance to practice the first time and then execute more fully the second time.
Can you tell us about the benefits of this kind of practice, and what were your expectations when you started this practice?
Well, the benefits are that, like you said, you do the same poses each time you go. So you learn how to do the poses, and the teachers are specifically telling you what to do, how to get into the pose, how to get out of the pose. And it's not anything that you have to interpret, because they're going to tell you, they're going to cue you to each part of the pose. So it becomes a memorization part on your part. You're going to do the same thing each time you go. It's in a warm room, so your body is relaxed. It's a constant breathing type atmosphere, as opposed to heavy breathing and then stopping, heavy breathing and then stopping. It's a constant normal breathing. You may get elevated breathing, but then it comes down. Between each pose, there is a rest period that might be 20 seconds or 30 seconds. So it's either standing or you're lying down on the floor. So you get the same sequence each time you go. So the benefits that I was looking for is, one, I needed it to be hot because I was used to running in the heat. I needed it to be humid because I was running in the heat and the humidity at noontime in Birmingham, Alabama. And I was doing it every day. but I needed it to allow me to relax my mind, because when I run, it was just one step in front of the other. No thinking, just stepping, running. But if you're in a competitive race, you got to do some strategic stuff. But in this Bikram, in the Hot 26, you're going to do the same thing each time, so you don't have to do a whole lot of thinking. So your mind can relax and you can relate. So those were some of the things that I was looking for, and those were some of the things that I realized. Now, some side benefits of it is that when I ran, my weight was down and my endurance was up. And then when I started taking the Hot 26, my weight dropped. I went from a size 36 pants to 32 pants. I dropped 30 pounds. That was in 1 year. I went to 370 classes. I didn't go every day, so I did some doubling up of classes, and those are 90-minute classes. So I was retired, so I was able to do that. So I had time to do that. So those are the major benefits that I was looking for. I wanted to get more flexible, and it made me start looking at what I was eating, my nutrition. I stopped a lot of the junk food that I was eating while I was walking and running.
Now, I'm curious about the weight loss, because a lot of the guys watching this podcast, I'm sure, are also asking themselves, like, how did LeStryet lose the weight? So let's go in a little deeper. Do you think you lost the weight from the practice itself, like the calories burned during the time that you were in the class? Or were there other things, such as it changed your approach and your lifestyle and your awareness, your mindfulness about health, and therefore you changed other habits that then led to your weight loss?
Yes, it made you focus on, I want to burn these calories. And if I look at my watch now, every time I go, and it's just maybe 60 minutes, it's like 600, 700 calories being burned. So you started looking at, well, when I eat, what am I going to eat? I'm going to eat protein-rich foods. I'm going to use smoothies. I'm going to eat berries or fruits. And that's what I started doing. You're going to drink a lot more water. You're going to drink electrolytes, smoothies, those types of things. So it made you start, well, do I really need that piece of cake? Or do I need those cookies? Or that candy? Or just mindlessly eating while I'm sitting and watching television? And you get up and you move a lot. So it was a change in lifestyle for me.
Right. So we could say that yoga, your yoga practice, was the catalyst for other health habit changes in your life, and they retrofeed, each other. The healthier you are, then the more stamina you have, the body responds better because you're feeding it properly, you're probably resting properly. So the yoga feeds the lifestyle feeds the yoga, and it becomes one.
It becomes a circle. Yes.
Exactly.
A big circle. Yep.
Yeah, beautiful. Let's talk about the different styles of yoga out there, and which ones you've tried, which ones you've practiced, which ones you've incorporated into your own personal practice.
First of all, that was the Hot 26 and 2. That was what the studio was known for, and that was its major offering. But then it started with the Vinyasa flow. That was in a heated room also, but those flows were different. That's why you had the down dogs, the up dogs, the warrior 1, warrior 2, and the warrior 3s. And those classes had 10, 15 people in it. And the cues were not as detailed oriented as they were in Hot 26 and 2. So, and they were fast moving. So it was a breathing and movement at the same time. So you're going from warrior 1 to warrior 2 to warrior 3 to reverse warrior, and there's very little cueing going on. So I was getting confused. So I said, well, what can I do? Because the teacher can't afford to go and correct everybody that's in the class. So I'm going to have to do some research on my own. So I went to the internet and to YouTube and found somebody that was focused on Vinyasa style poses. How do you do these poses? So I contracted with him to do some private sessions. And I took private lessons from him on all of those types of poses. Another one is the Ashtanga class. Now that's a sequence-based class as well, And those sequences are done the same each time also, primary on in the intermediate type series. They do the same poses each time you go, but that's also a breath and movement. So you're moving constantly, and the instructions or the cueing in those classes is not as detailed as in Hot 26. And you don't get as many rest periods as you get in Hot 26. Another one is the yin sessions. Now, I really love the yin sessions because that's where you let gravity help you in your pose. So you can get into a pigeon pose or fire log pose and just rest for 2 or 3 minutes, and you can actually feel your body just releasing tension, and you're expanding, and you're getting deeper into the pose. And because you're holding it for 3 to 5 minutes, your body has time to just relax. Your mind just wanders. You might have thoughts come through your mind, but they come through and you just let them go. So you just don't sit and dwell on them. So it's a meditative type of session. I like to do them at night because when you finish doing them, you're ready to go to sleep. And that's exactly what I would do.
Yeah, I think it's great to have a home practice. A lot of people don't have that discipline, and there's no right or wrong. It just helps to have a home practice that you can take with you when you're traveling, when it's raining, when for whatever reason you can't go to the yoga studio. It's not a reason or an excuse to not do some form of yoga. It doesn't have to be the same one as you would do in the yoga studio.
All right. The pitfall on that is that if you are not you haven't practiced enough and you don't know the poses, you could do something to hurt yourself because you don't get. It's a one-way communication where you're watching a video and you're emulating that video, and you're not getting any feedback on no, your foot placement is not correct. And if you take videos of yourself doing it and you post those, then how receptive are you to receiving some constructive criticism from somebody that's looking at it? Yeah. Just be prepared to get feedback. And I would like to give feedback, but sometimes I'm hesitant to do that.
A lot of people who start yoga practice by themselves watching videos, they have no idea whether they're doing it right or wrong. And number two, they start creating habits. We call them bad habits, poor habits with regards to form and posture that may lead to injury, or they're just not working the body in the way that the pose was meant to be. So they're kind of missing out on something because they're doing it in a different way.
And that's where they won't get the benefits, and they become discouraged. And they say, well, no, this is not working.
Exactly.
And if you're willing to accept feedback that your foot placement, your heel should be going toward your arch in your back foot, as opposed to being, 6 inches apart from the width standpoint, then that's helpful.
Yeah.
And I think that if I see it, I'll say it, whether they want it or not.
How did you decide to go into teacher training, yoga teacher training?
One person at our yoga studio incorporated and was going to offer yoga teacher training. So I talked with him and I said, well, I would like to take it, but I'm taking it from the standpoint of self-development. I want to learn more about anatomy, muscles. I want to learn more about the poses in this Hot 26 and 2. What are the primary benefits of each one of these poses? What is the best way to do it? What are the modifications that we can have? Also, this is just one part of yoga, the physical part of yoga. There are other parts. There's breathing. There are 8 limbs of yoga. There's a whole lifestyle. So I need to learn more about the history of yoga. So I'm doing it from the standpoint of personal development. But as I got into it, and we had some live sessions where we had to deliver dialogue to, I said live because these are clients of the studio. They come to a yoga class and they've got a trainee that's delivering the cues for the poses. And it was, to me, that was the most nerve-wracking part, because I'm not one that likes to get up and give public speeches. And you were on a podium that's 2 feet high and looking over all these students, classrooms, 20 students. And these are people that paid to come to a class where they thought they were going to get a professional teacher, but they're getting a student teacher. And so that was nerve wracking. And we did those round robins. The first one that I did, I literally was in tears afterwards. So, but then we had to, as part of the immersion week, we had to deliver a total class, a 90-minute class. We had to do 3 of them. So after doing those 3 classes, and you get the dialogue down, because it's a set dialogue. It has some corny words in it. Sometimes you use those, sometimes you don't, like Japanese ham sandwich or things like that. So I said, this might be a way that I can extend and take my knowledge and help other people by teaching them, expand beyond what I thought I could do, go beyond my comfort zone. So yes, we finished. I got certified, and the teacher, the owner of the studio, asked me if I wanted to teach a class, and I said yes, and I taught the class. And then 2 or 3 days later, I went back and asked if I could teach that class again. So I've got a key, and I'm teaching Tuesday classes from 11:30 to 12:30 on a trial basis for the next 3 months, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I delivered my second class this past Tuesday, and it's a way for me to extend or share my knowledge with other folks that may be new to the practice, and I can learn from them as well, those that have practiced for a long time. And it's just the whole community, and I'm just thankful for it.
What are the next steps for you, LeStryet? Where do you want to take your yoga, your practice, your teaching in the near future, let's say?
I'm going to try to get into more meditation. So that is to specifically sit and just be still and not do anything. Just let your mind relax. Let thoughts come, let thoughts go. Learning more about the anatomy, learning more about yin, practicing more, and partaking or giving information to people that may need it or asking for advice.
What advice do you give to newcomers, to guys who are thinking about starting a yoga practice or have recently started, but it hasn't really consolidated yet?
My advice is to get either a total body session or concentrate on specific body parts and do those continuously, that one body part continuously until you get it down, or the total body practice until you get it down and you know the sequence. I wouldn't advise going into a vinyasa style, because the vinyasa style can vary unless you're using that one vinyasa session and you do it over and over and over. But a lot of times those one vinyasa sessions don't address the total body, so you're not getting the total story. And if you're going from part A to part B to part C, 3 different types of sessions over 3 different days, then you don't get the repetition that you need in order to get the physical part of it going. So my advice is I would like to see them get into some type of hot 26 and 2 if they can stand the heat, or a set vinyasa series and do those for a month or 2 months at a time on specific body parts or total body parts. And it can be 15 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour, but have a commitment to do that. Another part is to get into a community where you can talk with people that have the same types of experiences that you may have. Don't do it by yourself, because it'll be hard and you don't have any feedback. If you're doing it online, there's no two-way communication. You're just seeing and you're interpreting. You may be doing something incorrect. And if you can, videotape yourself and show those videotapes and look at those videotapes so you can see what you're doing, how you're doing it, compared to what you think you were doing and how you thought you were doing it. And if you post it, then other people can see it and give you some constructive criticism. And as you do those things, you'll start seeing other parts of your life being changed. You'll see that you're not as hungry as you were before, so you don't eat as much. You don't sit down and just snack. So your weight's going to go down. You're burning calories. You're moving. If you don't move, you're going to lose. So those are some of the things that I would advise somebody to do.
How else can people reach out to you, LeStryet?
Well, I'm on Facebook. at LeStryet, and I'm also on Instagram at LeStryet, and also Threads.
Today, I think we got a very nice 360 picture of you, your practice, your, how that has improved your life, your health. So looking forward to that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, take care.